Welcome to the IMA 52-week webinar series. I'm your host, Dominic Siriani. Each week, we bring you the tools you can use to better engage your audience and share with you the future of modern marketing. If you haven't already joined us, membership in the IMA is free. You can access all of our resources, including our archive of webinars, at imanetwork.org. Our guest this week is Sebastian Jespersen, founder and CEO of Vertic. Within a few years of graduating from Copenhagen Business School with a master's in marketing, Sebastian founded Vertic. The company has grown from a startup to one of the largest global digital ad agencies. In 2012, Sebastian was recognized by The Internationalist as an agency innovator. Vertic launched in 2002 and has offices in New York, Seattle, Copenhagen, and Singapore. Vertic works with Fortune 500 clients like Microsoft, HP, and Echo to develop an interdisciplinary approach to brand building. Sebastian's experience makes him the perfect guide on using LinkedIn to support brand development and awareness. Sebastian, thank you very much for making time to share with us today. I've offered a brief introduction, but I'd like it if you could share a little bit more about yourself and Vertic.
Don, thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored to be here today. As you very clearly described, then I founded Vertic in 2002. In 2007, relocated to New York primarily because of our engagement with Microsoft. I really liked what we have created for them in Denmark/Europe, but working with them on a global scale would have to be out of the U.S. Hence, I relocated in 2007 and established our New York office. In 2010, in terms of milestones, we engaged with LinkedIn and then formulated a partnership. And that partnership has really been paramount to our success and driving a lot of our growth the last couple of years.
Tell me a little bit more about you.
So in terms of my own background, and again, I think that's important to understand both the rest of the presentation and our success. Coming from Ernst & Young and the strategic consulting house Index, I have sort of a fairly good and deep understanding of business and consultancy processes within large corporations. So it's not like either myself or the co-founder, Mads Petersen, are very, very creative or very technical. These are both extremely important components in building a solution, but I think it's paramount to clients and large corporations when they are investing in marketing that they actually can see that it can also get a return from the investment cost, and marketing do not necessarily have to be a cost. So the combination of business and strategy combined with technology and creativity, what's driving our growth.
And that's a common theme that we hear from many of our guests. That confluence of strategy, technology, and marketing is something that we're very excited to have you share with our audience today. Tell us a little bit about what you're going to be speaking of.
I've selected two cases which I think is representing both modern solutions in terms of digital marketing and what we are especially good at. So we're going to present two cases. Both are centered around LinkedIn and how you can leverage LinkedIn in order to establish yourself in new markets and be deriving your business.
Well, Sebastian, I'm excited, and if you don't mind, take us through what you have to share with us today.
I'll definitely do so. So just briefly about Vertic and our clients. As you can see here, most of our clients will be on the B2B side, and hence why I think that is a perfect match to something like LinkedIn. Again, offices around the globe, and then feel free, obviously, to follow what we do throughout the various social contact points. We all know that LinkedIn has been able to capture a lot of professionals' attention over the last years. Today they have 280 million members or profiles, and 1 out of 3 professionals on this globe is on LinkedIn. A lot of C-level is now also starting to be very active on LinkedIn, primarily due to their influencer program, where they basically have an opportunity to write content and push that content out to the LinkedIn members. So in terms of driving business and in terms of being able to influence, there's no doubt that LinkedIn is the choice of social platform. And secondly, LinkedIn is also the only global platform which is currently having access to the Chinese market. So that was one of our prime reasons, both in terms of our clients and our nature of our clients, why we created the relationship with LinkedIn in 2010. Interesting things with LinkedIn, I think, is really the opportunity to target. So it's not a predictive model, so you basically predict that certain segments or certain individuals will come to a specific site. On LinkedIn, basically know that if I'm going to target IT decision makers, you know who you are targeting in terms of title, in terms of company, in terms of geography, in terms of seniority, or a combination of the mentioned parameters. So you can basically target and you can get extremely precise who you're targeting. And we are basically leveraging that to drive in the right traffic. So making sure that the traffic that we're driving to our solutions is also the traffic that we would like to convert into to leads or to actually business. And one of the cases that we have done that with is Vestas. You might not know Vestas. Vestas is though the global leader within renewable energy. It's a Danish-based company, and they have offices around the world, around 20,000 employees, and has been existing through various mergers, but is a fairly old company in terms of renewable energy. Nevertheless, they've obviously been hit hard by the economic meltdown. So in 2010, they basically came to us saying that governments are really not investing in renewable energy these days. They are probably more focused on creating jobs. But we believe that there's a new segment in terms of large corporations and that they are investing in renewable energy. So help us drive that new market. Help us to break into this. We have never sold a single turbine in this market, but help us do so. So the first thing we did was that we went out and created the transparency. No one knew which corporations have invested how much, if any. So we, together with Bloomberg, we created an index, exactly like the NASDAQ index or the Dow Jones index. We created the C-REX index. And that really helped creating the transparency, because large corporations were basically finding how much renewable energy they had in their energy portfolio. And they're doing that obviously on a free basis. So they were filing these into Bloomberg. Once we had that data, we also knew obviously which companies had invested how much, and we took these companies and went out with TNS Gallup and interviewed 34,000 consumers globally about their preferences for these brands and renewable energy. So if you knew that Starbucks, as an example, invested in renewable energy, would you be more favorable to the brand? Would you actually recommend the brand if you knew? Or would you actually also be willing to pay more for a cup of coffee from Starbucks if it was brewed by renewable energy? And the results was actually quite astonishing. And most of the consumers that we interviewed around the world were extremely favorable about renewable energy. And they were also quite surprised that a lot of companies have actually invested significantly in renewable energy, but they were not aware. So these two data sets was actually content that even the marketing departments or communication departments of these large corporations were not aware of. So we took that data and packaged it, and basically through LinkedIn pushed it out to, first of all, the C-level suite, and secondary to employees just below, so they could influence the C-level suite. And we centered the messaging around the role of the individual. So if you are a marketing individual, we will be talking about the marketing opportunities of the investments that the company or the brand already have made. If you are COO, it will be a different proposition, the COO, a third one, etc. So altogether, more than 420,000 employees were targeted on LinkedIn, all with a completely unique message that involved their brand and consumer preferences and were tailored to their role, and also incorporated which geography that they were from. That required some discussions with LinkedIn at this point in time, and that was in 2011. It was not possible to actually to do this. The data model was not able to accommodate what we needed, but basically we were able to go back and forward, and they changed their data model, and this was basically created a whole new opportunities both for us but also for LinkedIn in terms of targeting. So more than 420,000 individuals were targeted with a completely unique message. And upon clicking on that message, the individuals were brought to a site which was completely, again, tailored to that individual. So we knew that if a person, again, from Starbucks, and this was within marketing from the US, we knew that from the data from LinkedIn, where they were coming from, etc. We brought that data onto the site. So once they were hitting the site, the entire story and the entire flow of the site were optimized to that individual. So again, obviously these were dynamically built, but our more than 420,000 unique versions of the site. So what we really were doing here was that we created some very, very unique content that these brands have never seen before. We pushed it out in a tailor-made fashion to all of the decision makers within the large corporations, and then brought them to a site saying that this is how you're performing compared to your competitors or compared to the best in class in other industries, and this is how you can do more. The results, and these results are what you would in general see from an agency. They're obviously very based on impressions and CTR, etc. And obviously we were happy to see that 30% of all top executives in the target group, they actually came to the site. So that's an enormous conversion. And average time spent on the site was actually also quite high. But the interesting thing coming back to my introduction about driving business is really that 18 months after launch, Vestas has signed orders for more than 150 million euros, so approximately $180 million. The newest numbers actually came out earlier this week, and it's about doubling this. So this is what was signed in 2013. With the newest orders that they have just signed, they are at around 350 million US dollars in signed and confirmed orders. And again, this is within a market segment that Vestas had never touched before, and they have not done anything else besides this campaign. So this is obviously an amazing area. Vestas have built. First of all, because they were able to break into a new market, but also because that the normal sales cycle for Vestas is 2 to 4 years. And if you obviously look at the numbers here, then that has been significantly shortened. So a great example of how you can, with the great content, utilize LinkedIn and the segmentation opportunities on LinkedIn, and then leverage the profile data in order to create a unique experience that ultimately is going to drive business.
Sebastian, if I can interrupt for just a moment before you move on to your second case study, you said something interesting that I wanted to touch on. Can you talk to us a little bit more about how you did the 34,000 consumer surveys at the very beginning of your work with Vestas?
Yes, so we engaged with TNS Gallup, so they were the one that actually conducted the interviews. but was basically they were doing that through their own database, and then we compiled everything into a white paper. The second case that I would like to present is really the launch of Office 365. So Microsoft tasked us with a job saying that we want to launch Office 365 in the SMB segment, and we want to do so in our largest markets globally. Obviously, in the SMB segment, we have a lot of entities, so our normal go-to-market approach would definitely not work here. And the reason why they want to do something a little bit special here is that they are basically going through sort of a paradigm shift. Normally, how you have been acquiring Office licenses is simply buying a license. In Office 365, you are buying a service that you are paying for every month. So instead of paying upfront, you are basically paying every month per seat. And that's a shift in mentality that simply requires, especially for small and medium-sized businesses, that you create almost like a business case that illustrates why should they do so. Again, use the targeting opportunities in LinkedIn to select the technical decision makers and the business decision makers within small and medium-sized businesses in selected markets. And we simply did so by using these data that you see here on the screen. So obviously, first of all, in terms of the company size. Secondly, in terms of various industries, the value propositions for Office 365 differs from industry to industry, and also the case studies obviously differs. So we want to make sure that ones that we were engaging with the individuals, that they could actually see the relevance. They were able to mirror themselves in the cases, and the language that we use were optimized for that specific industry. The banners basically included a reference point. So they could basically see, well, I'm able to mirror myself in this competitor, and they apparently have done it. And that basically helped us in terms of conversion rates, click-through rates. So they were significantly above normal click-through rates on LinkedIn. The interesting thing was really that once the user hit the site, we were able basically both to personalize, so you can see in the left upper corner that we were able to use the name of the user. We knew the name from LinkedIn. Secondly, all evidence, and evidence in terms of case studies and in terms of industry background. Obviously, we took also from LinkedIn that this user is coming from, let's say, the pharmaceutical industry. And within a specific region, so all case studies were optimized. The really interesting stuff, and this is really on the right side of the screen here. So what we did was that through LinkedIn, we looked up how many other profiles that specific company had on LinkedIn. So in this case, it's 1,251, and we used that as an element in being able to both select the right package of Office 365, but also to calculate the business case. So we now know that this company has 1,251 profiles on LinkedIn. That gives a monthly price per employee of 9.80 pounds. And in total, in the UK version here, this gives 12,254 pounds per month. So what we're seeing here is basically that one click from LinkedIn, they were landing in this environment, completely tailored around them and their situation and their industry, but also they could see what this will cost. And if you compare that to a normal Office 365 page, this would take 7 clicks. 7 clicks in order for the user to identify how much would this actually cost my company. And if you ask most individuals in the SMB segment, how many employees do they have, they will not be able to come up with the right number. They will say approximately, probably, but we can basically help them simply by looking it up on LinkedIn. So again, all personalized content. Again, the interesting thing, interesting thing about this case is really in the numbers. First of all, extremely low bounce rate, simply because that when you drive the right traffic and you are able basically to serve up the right content once they hit the site, there's no reason for them to leave. There shouldn't be. Secondly, you are able to convert 16% of all traffic into a 30-day trial. So if you look basically at all the traffic came to the site, actually did a 30-day trial, and normally on the benchmark sites in terms of Microsoft, their normal Office 365 cases, they'll probably have a conversion rate below 1%, and here it's 16% of all traffic, and around 9.2% of the conversion rate actually from those that did the trial went into a buy. So again, a huge win, utilizing LinkedIn to target the right individuals. And once that you're engaging with the right individuals, you're bringing them onto a site, leveraging the data from LinkedIn in order to create a customized and personalized experience, and that's really driving significant business. So that's the two cases that I would like to present. Really, I think showing how we, in a very creative fashion, has been able to leverage LinkedIn in order to arm the user to make a decision. In this case, with Office to buy. Obviously, you can't buy a wind turbine online, but at least arming them to make a decision or to push them further down the funnel.
Thanks, Sebastian. I wonder if you can't take some of the experiences that you and Vertic have learned about and offer some advice to new organizations or organizations who haven't used LinkedIn for this purpose in the past.
Yeah, I would definitely say that that it normally you would sort of differentiate, or you would differ or split a solution into two. One will be to drive the traffic. That will be one department in a company, and it will be another department to convert that traffic on a site. And I think what we have succeeded with here is actually to meld these two together. So it's almost in a one-step process that you target individuals. Once they're targeted, you engage them, and then you're driving them to a site. So I'll definitely say that the more that both the individuals that is responsible for driving the traffic can coordinate with the ones that is actually leveraging that traffic and converting that traffic is absolutely key.
What other tools outside of LinkedIn does Vertic lean on in order to help its clients engage their audience?
Yeah, so we use the other social platform as well. And we use a lot of social media listening, social media monitoring, in order to really understand. So one thing is that we are able to target individuals, but what are we to target them with? So the ability to target them with content which we know that has their interest, or we know that has a high priority. And we're using sort of a number of different tools, social media listening, social media monitoring, in order to understand, deep dive into what's high on the agenda.
Well, Sebastian, I really appreciate the time that you've spent, the value that you've provided. Can you share with our audience ways that they can get in touch with you or your organization?
Sure. Probably the most efficient way would be to connect with us on LinkedIn, but obviously using Twitter, hashtag #WeAreVertic, or simply go to our website, vertic.com, and engage with us through the various social points that is available on the site, or simply just call us. Always happy to share our experiences, and there's also a number of case studies on the site, both more with LinkedIn, but definitely also other case studies utilizing other social platforms.
Well, Sebastian, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
IMA members, if you'd like a copy of Sebastian's presentation or to chat more about this topic, you could do both at imanetwork.org/webinar. Remember, if you haven't already joined us, membership in the IMA is free. And if you'd like to offer any feedback on our webinar series, I'm always open to hearing the thoughts of the audience. You can send me feedback at dsirianni@imanetwork.org. We'll see you next week.